welcome back to Cino MMA. Before we get right into this amazing little news bites video we got for today, I wanted to apologize for not posting for a while. I've been working a lot. I have my last semester of college and I am super busy. MMA and the UFC has been dead, so I took the time to really grind on homework in school to make sure I'm keeping up with everything so I can get back in more consistent towards the latter part of this year and into the summer where we're going to blow up the channel this summer. Summer 2026 is the year of Cino MMA. And to start off in February, even though I've made videos in February, what an announcement. And I have a very interesting take on this. Netflix and MVP Promotions, which is Jake Paul, has just announced Ronda Rousey versus Gina Carano for May 16th live on Netflix. This fight, way too late. A spectacle, yes. Will there even be a card under it? Will the fight even ever end up happening? Ronda Rousey has not fought since 2016. I believe Gina Carano has not fought since like 2012. Is this interesting, and am I interested to see what happens on Netflix, an MMA fight, a WMMA fight? That's an important factor in this. However, Ronda Rousey is probably the second biggest star in UFC history behind Conor McGregor, and Gina Carano, a pioneer of women's MMA. And I have a lot of interesting takes on this. To start off, we're gonna look at this from the UFC's angle real quick. Ronda Rousey went on SportsCenter and pretty much said she tried to make it a UFC comeback with this specific fight in mind before signing with Jake Paul and MVP Promotions. She said, "I reached out to Dana White and asked if he'd be interested in it. It didn't exactly work out." Now, there's two situations here. Ronda Rousey could have wanted way more money than what Dana White was willing to pay the UFC to shell out for a woman who hasn't competed in 10 years at this point and was on a 2-fight losing streak by KO, who did no promotion for the second fight of her comeback against Amanda Nunes after Holly Holm knocked her out cold with a head kick. Did no promotion whatsoever, did no promotion after or any interviews whatsoever, cried, literally ran and hid after taking a loss to who ended up probably being the greatest women's MMA fighter of all time in Amanda Nunes. Maybe that has a little something to do with it, Ronda Rousey. Now, I know everyone's like, Ronda, everybody like loves Ronda or whatever, but I was really young. 2016, that was 10 years ago. I was 10 years old, and I remember Ronda Rousey. I remember her coming over from Strikeforce, being the first ever woman to compete in the UFC against, I believe it was Liz Carmouche, or was it Kat Zingano? One of those two ladies, I believe it is Liz Carmouche. Nevertheless, though, as soon as she took the loss against Holly Holm, I could imagine the nightmare that she was to work with. And I wouldn't be surprised if she still is a nightmare to work with. I've heard rumors about things that happened inside of her WWE stint as well, revolving around the pro wrestling world. I've seen it on the internet. I act like I have inside sources. And if I'm going to be honest, I honestly think TKO, the UFC, Dana White, and Paramount didn't necessarily have interest in the fight. I don't think it's that they didn't want to pay the money to bring the two gals over to put on this fight. I mean, obviously that's a factor into the business and whether or not it's worth it or not. I mean, if Ronda would do it for free, they would probably put it on. But what is the UFC? The UFC is the premier mixed martial art promotion on this planet. They are number one by far. They have the best roster and the best fighters. Is Ronda Rousey or Gina Carano currently two of the best women fighters on the planet? Are they two of the biggest names, and would it be exciting to throw on the White House card? Sure. Would it be exciting to even headline its own card randomly? That's where I'm not so sure. Is it that exciting if it is the headline of, let's say, UFC 330? If you're like me and you're a hardcore UFC fan, if you love watching the best of the best compete, if you love this sport, is this really your dream fight? And let's be real. First of all, it's WMMA. It's no shade or anything like that, but WMMA, women's MMA, is not as exciting as the men's fight. It's just not. I'll preface that with saying Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Weili Zhang #1 is one of my favorite fights of all time, and that is a banger. And there are exceptions to that rule. However, 95% of the time, they are not good fights. They are low skill level, and it is very unlikely you will see a finish or even come close to one. And now you have two women who have not fought in a long time. Ronda Rousey. She has literally detailed frightening neurological issues. I would get a jab and I would basically go blind. This was an interview from 2025. Andy Hickey MMA, no idea who that is. Shout out though. How does an athletic commission clear that? It's a good question, and that goes back to the point. Will this fight even happen? Did the UFC even see an avenue? Or was the risk never even remotely worth the reward for what this fight could possibly be? Would there be any reward whatsoever if this was, say, a White House card fight? Would it bring any more eyes than what the UFC will already bring with the White House card? I don't think it would. It's been 10 years since Ronda Rousey last fight. She will be nowhere near as good as she was previously. Gina Carano been in even longer. She would have got smushed by Ronda in both of their primes to begin with. So imagine how low level her skill will be. What is this fight? But nothing but a spectacle you can throw on Netflix. And honestly, if they're going to do that, I'd rather it be like that. Don't taint the UFC, the highest level of mixed martial arts, with a clown show, which is what this fight is. This is what this fight is, a clown show. I said 2012. 2009 the last time Gina Carano fight. 17-year layoff. Again, 10-year layoff for Ronda Rousey. Not convinced this actually happens. I was thinking, as soon as the first post I seen was this Netflix deal, I was like, I doubt this happens. I doubt this happens. And it's just insane to me what some of these people are saying. Like Jedi Goodman, a classic Ariel Helwani meat rider. Crazy that MVP's first MMA event will likely be higher viewed than any previous UFC event. That is a crazy statement. Will it probably get good views? Yeah, probably. It's Ronda Rousey coming back. It'll be free on Netflix. Most likely, if I understand. But we don't even have details on if there will be any undercard of any kind. Gina Carano, you, Jedi Goodman, and me may know who Gina Carano is. Most people who would be interested in watching this now and hearing about it on their social feeds probably don't even know who Gina Carano is unless you watched Strikeforce MMA. How big of a percentage do you think that market is right now in the Big 26 when the last time she fought was 2009? Classic, this group of just weirdo, low-life MMA media, social media people. I don't even know what to call them. They're irrelevant. They're losers. They do anything anti-UFC. I'm not anti-UFC. I'm just hypercritical because I want the best product on earth to be the best product it can be on earth. It's that simple. I meant to talk about this real quick. Yeah, Ronda, I remember this. I was 9, 10 years old. Ronda and Gina was never the dream fight. It was always Ronda Cyborg. And I already talked about this. It was never a competitive fight in any era. Any era. So all these other things I just said, and then on top of that, the people who are actually going to be really invested in this, that is true for them. And how many 16 to 35-year-olds that hopped into the UFC circuit anywhere between 2016 and now really actually care about this? And I'm guessing this is a Saturday night in May. It's a Saturday night in May, and I can't wait to watch Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano fight. After Gina Carano, who I don't even know, last fought in 2009, and Ronda Rousey came off 2 knockout losses and her last fight was 2016. who, and as previously stated, she has neurological issues and can't take a jab. And it's a WMMA fight. It's not like this is some cool grudge match where they're not drug testing or something between old heads. It's nothing like that. It's two way out of their prime women who haven't fought in I don't know how long. And it sounds like I'm being like hypercritical that this is a WMMA fight. No, that's just a point to make because it's less likely it'll be of any entertainment value. If this fight was even made in 2016, after what that would have still been 7-year layoff for Gina Carano, I would have been excited because at least Ronda's in her prime and she was entertaining and she was finishing ladies. And Gina Carano's a big name. But why do I care about it now in 2026? 10 years since Ronda last fought. 2009 since Gina fought. Why do I care now all of the sudden? And whoever put this is, like, if you understand this meme, you get what I'm saying. That's just a bad place to put that meme. And we already talked about that. Oh, and here we go. Someone on Ariel Helwani, whoever this weirdo is. Does anybody get sick of like producers of podcasts and it's a big podcast so they automatically think their opinions are well took and people appreciate them? Because this is what this guy is, I'm pretty sure. Nobody even really likes Ariel Helwani anymore. And this guy thinks he's Mr. Smart cooking in the kitchen. If I'm Dana White, the moment this news came out this morning, I'm on the phone with Conor McGregor. I'm in the phone with John Jones. If you don't already think that's in the cards for the White House, you're a retard. I cannot afford for my White House card not to be the biggest event of the year. Shut up! Like, people think this Ronda Rousey, Gina Carano's the biggest MMA event of the year. I can't wait to see the numbers. I can't wait to see them. They're not going to be this crazy spectacle people think it's going to be. If they were banking on the idea of Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje being the headliner, that would be the moment I would have hopped on the phone and called one of those boys because you have to match this. Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje is 5 to 10 times more interesting, intriguing, entertaining, everything than Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano in 2026. That is the most outrageous, retarded take I've heard all day in the past month. You're an idiot. You are an idiot. Because every single MMA fan, whether casual, hardcore, or really casual, the White House card that will be airing on CBS that will have multiple UFC belts on the line at the lawn of the White House is obviously going to be bigger than Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano. And we'll get into some other stuff of maybe what can make it bigger or what it won't even really matter. There's a tweet up here somewhere I'm going to comment on. But this is insane. Ilia Topuria, one of the biggest stars in the sport, finally returning. People love Ilia Topuria. Justin Gaethje, one of the best homegrown stars in UFC history with his violence. And then the chance of a John Jones on that card, even though I could do without. Conor McGregor, which I could do without as well. There's a chance of that. There's also a chance of possibly Alex Pereira moving up to heavyweight, whether it's against Cyril Gane, Tom Aspinall, or Tom Aspinall, Cyril Gane. There's that, okay? You have Islam Makhachev, who's huge, okay? I'm not the biggest fan, but he's huge, okay? You have Sean O'Malley, Piotr Yan. Go through the best title fights you can make in the UFC right now. Every single one of those fights is more important, more at stake, more high skill level, more entertaining, will be a better fight than Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano in 2026. It's really that simple. And the fact they think this, star power of Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano is just going to mow over for all these people who are just like, wow, I'm going to watch an MMA fight now. I haven't been watching MMA for a while, but Ronda Rousey's back 10 years later, and I used to love Gina Carano, so I'm tuning in on Netflix for Jake Paul's MMA promotion. You're a retard. You're stupid. What was it? Yes, this is what I wanted to talk about. Imagine this MVP MMA card has Gina versus Ronda. Whoa! Francis versus whoever. Okay, Francis actually still in his prime, an elite MMA heavyweight fighter. Who you going to get him to fight? that's interesting? Who? This is just boxing, and this is why boxing is dying. It's either the old school, out of their prime, they throw big money at out of their prime MMA stars, or it's like the boxing situation. Francis versus who are you going to get him to fight? Jorgen De Castro? Who do you have? Jailton Almeida? Whoa. Nate Diaz versus whoever. Nate Diaz is like almost 40. Hasn't been good in MMA and no telling how long. Who are you going to get him to fight? Even if they did like Jorge Masvidal. Jorge looked horrible against Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns is washed now. Anderson Silva versus whoever. What are you going to do? Get him against Tito Ortiz in MMA instead of boxing this time? Anderson Silva's 51 years old. These people are idiots. They call themselves MMA journalists, MMA reporters. Yet they're like, imagine this. Out of their prime old people besides Francis. On a MVP Jake Paul card. That's epic. Dude, you don't like the sport then. You're just a fan. You're like a little kid when they see a freaking like Superman shirt. They're like, whoa, that made no sense, but you know what I'm saying? They drool. How in any world is any of those fights more exciting than a real possible super fight in the UFC like Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev? While that fight probably won't get made, and that is a critical part of that's criticism for the UFC. Like, I'm not denying that. I'm not like shilling for the UFC here. That's 10 times better than anything like this. That is two best MMA fighters on the planet. Or Islam Makhachev and Ian Gary. If you would rather watch anything like this over that fight, you don't actually like the sport. You don't. And I'm not trying to be Mr. Hardcore. Trust me, I wish press conferences were better. I wish Dana White would stop being a sorry, lazy POS and do some promoting. I pray about it. But that's what we have, and even that, we still get high-level MMA competition that is 10 times better than any of that. Moving on. This is crazy, and I wanted to comment on this real quick, because Chris Cyborg, you have CTE. All those years of ducking me at 145 when we were both in our prime, I thought you had CTE or something. First of all, she can barely make 145 pounds. She has to kill herself. Second of all, no one cares about you. You're irrelevant. You're legitimately irrelevant. When you actually got tested against another high-level, very high-level, on your level MMA fighter, the GOAT, Amanda Nunes, you got slept easily. Shut up. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to look at your face, Cyborg. You tweet all the time. You're irrelevant. You work for PFL. You're trying to do these weird boxing matchups. You're irrelevant. I just wanted to say that because she is, or whatever it is abhorrent. What was that? Oh, and Brendan Schaub. Dude, I like Brendan Schaub as a person when I hear him talk, but he's also a retard. Gotta think UFC wanted this on the White House. Well played, Jake Paul. That's a big boy move right there. Oh, yeah, big boy move. Here, hey, I'm Jake Paul. Here, this fight's like, it may not even get really cleared by a commission, and it's probably going to be an exhibition match, or it may not even happen. Here's a bunch of money gals. Gina, I know you haven't fought since 2009, and Ronda Rousey, you have already CTE and hasn't fought since 2016. Like, I just freaking outdid the UFC, yo. I think this was the best. I think Dana did right not doing this under the UFC banner. Honestly, I think it's a shame to the MMA scene that we're seeing this much, like, wow, about this. It's a spectacle, sure. Interesting, maybe. Entertaining, really, the fight. Is the fight going to be entertaining? Is it going to be high level? Are we going to see two of the best women's mixed martial artists currently on the planet? Not at all. You will not see that whatsoever. And in this, on a positive note, Michael Chiesa will retire after his fight in UFC Seattle on March 28th. Thank God, I'm sick of him. Am I the only one? Get him out of the UFC. He can go find on that card. Nobody cares about Michael Chiesa. I just wanted to thank God he's gone. Get him off the desk. Nobody likes his commentary. But guys, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed my rant about this whole Ronda Rousey, Gina Carano announcement and situation. I think it's honestly pathetic, the reactions to it. If the reactions were purely, oh, wow, cool, this is interesting, that's great. But this whole, wow, the UFC got outdone by Jake Paul because he left us at the press conference. And Dana White is mean to us. Wear a helmet. Life's tough, buddy. And I'm talking to all these Ariel Helwanis and all the Ariel Helwani meat riders. Y'all are pathetic and y'all are losers. And yes, nobody's probably going to watch this video of mine if somehow Ariel Helwani or any of his meat riders sees this. I don't care. Debate me. I know more about this sport than you. I promise I do. And I am way more down to earth and in touch with what this sport is and what it needs to grow and entertain. So, but that's it for today's video, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, like and subscribe. Smash the subscribe button and the like button. And if you watched all the way through, I love you. I appreciate it very much. Dude, that's it for today. Glad to be back. I'll have UFC Houston picks and preview out this week. Like, share, tell your mom to watch. I love you. Like and subscribe again. Christ is king.